One of my favorite things to analyze in manga and anime is design, and really thinking about the small things that go into making a character feel like a well-rounded and fleshed out individual. I did a video a while ago which was kind of similar to this one, but with Demon Slayer's second season being something I've really been enjoying, I wanted to revisit the topic and go over a few examples of how this series absolutely knocks it out of the park when it comes to color, personality, clothing, accessories, and breathing styles. The whole package being brought together to make one of the best examples of characterization I've seen in almost any anime. Before we get into it though, if you enjoy this video and want to see more like it, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more content in the future. I'm looking to hit 50k for the channel this year, so I'll keep doing my part to put out great videos, and all I ask is that you hit the button down below and ring the bell so I know what kind of videos you want to see. And there will probably be a few spoilers in this video, but I'm going to try and keep them as separate to the plot as possible, and just focus on visual aspects in those cases. With all that out of the way though, I think it is high time we get into the video. So the first thing I want to talk about in terms of Demon Slayer is how color, personality, and breathing style are often tied together to create a full design. There are a ton of characters in this show that do them well, but I'm going to start with Zenitsu as I think he's a phenomenal example of how well it's all put together in this series. Now, it's easy to just go lightning user, lightning is yellow, boom, done with the design. But in Demon Slayer, that's typically the starting point, and instead the color and breathing elements become woven into the character themselves. When it comes to color theory, every color has its own emotion, or trait, or response that it elicits in those seeing it. For example, red is associated with anger, blue with calm, green with peacefulness, yellow with hope, orange with energy, and purple with creativity. Every color, shade, or mix can also have other associated meanings obviously, but subconsciously on some level, we all more or less understand these things to be true. This is actually so much of a science that some businesses, like McDonald's, will put millions of dollars into finding combinations of colors that will make you happy and hungry when you look at their logo, which is why they went with the red and yellow design in the first place. But back to Zenitsu. We have a lot of yellows and oranges in his color scheme, which, based on his extremely over-the-top energetic personality, along with his dream of finding a wife in the future, aka being hopeful, is pretty fitting to the color. But do you know what else is literally energetic though? Lightning, which is his breathing style. Beyond that though, we also see how both the use of color and lightning are brought into his character in how he fights. Lightning can seem to come from nowhere. It's instant and then it's gone in a flash, which is perfectly shown in the first form of thunder breathing, which is the one Zenitsu uses. And going further into how he fights, obviously when he's actually in conflict, we see him enter this trance-like state before he slices through his opponent all at once. In these moments, Zenitsu is often depicted with blue lightning shooting from him or his sword rather than yellow, blue being a color representing calm and the state that Zenitsu finds himself in when he attacks. This could seem like something that's just a throwaway note, probably just something along the lines of "this would be cool" kind of decision, but interestingly, when he fights while he's awake later in the series, his attacks are shown to be wholly yellow in these moments. We also see a similar shift in Kaigaku, whose accessories begin yellow when he's a more pure person, but as things begin to change, they turn dark blue. It's an intentional shift in colors to demonstrate what's happening with those characters. The last thing I really want to mention with Zenitsu is that he's a coward. It's probably one of his most infamous personality traits, but again, it's tied to the color associated with his character. Yellow, beyond just being a color, is often used to describe someone cowardly. So in Zenitsu's case, Demon Slayer is kind of pressing a point. He doesn't just wear the color yellow, he embodies it. It informs who he is, and every emotion associated to that color is what his personality is based in. Zenitsu doesn't just use thunder breathing, he is lightning. It guides how he fights and can be seen in his momentary bursts of energy or excitement outside of the battlefield as well. Every detail feeds into every other detail to make a character that, while he can be annoying, feels complete. And obviously this isn't just the case with Zenitsu, but I won't spend too long on each of the rest of these, who use similar kind of thematic design and characterization. We can look at the Rengoku family, with flame-colored hair. Obviously, Rengoku has this bright, passionate personality, and that's all just something that can be used to describe fire. It's bright, it's warm. But he's also a beacon of hope that signifies a change or progression for those characters around him at the time he's introduced and when he passes away. And fire in literature is also something that's been used to bring inspiration or progress as well. probably most famously with the story of Prometheus in Greek mythology. It's become almost a trope in many ways, and when we look at Rengoku's role in the story, it's obviously pretty fitting. He is a massive inspiration for Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu. They see him holding his own against Upper Moon 3 Akaza, and when he's gone, we see the others growing as people, trying to become stronger, and more importantly, reigniting the fire in their hearts to continue down the path towards Muzan. Even his father, Shinjiro Rengoku, shares these flame-like traits, but rather than being a fire that lights up the lives around him, Shinjiro is a flame at the end of its life. He is burnt out. The trio of Kyojuro, Shinjiro, and Senjuro all show off all of the traits associated with the colors of fire: orange, red, and yellow. Kyojuro is full of energy, he's warm, adventurous, exciting, and this is all what orange stands for. Shinjiro is angry, he's aggressive, he's violent, while at the same time being very passionate towards his belief. He is red. And Senjuro is cautious as he lives with his temperamental father, but he's still optimistic and youthful. Much like Zenitsu though, he shows some cowardice. But again, all of these traits that we see in Senjuro are ones that we associate with the color yellow. And I just think it's really cool how the story blends these three characters together to show each stage or each color associated with fire. The same can be said for most of the Hashira as well. For example, the undeniable best girl in the series, Shinobu, is quick but physically weak. And as her Hallery suggests, everything about her is representative of butterflies. And just like many species of butterflies, she is poisonous, both in her attacks and at the core of her character. The loss of her sister corrupts how she sees the world around her. She is full of this blinding rage, but puts on this playful and colorful front that puts those around her at ease. Shinobu's color, purple, is representative of the midpoint between serenity and rage. It's about creativity, insight, and nobility. All of these things that she demonstrates heavily in the upcoming Infinity Castle arc, but which can also be seen simply in the ingenuity to use poison to overcome her inability to sever a demon's head. Purple is the color of bravery and aspiration, and all of these things just shine through entirely in Shinobu's story. Inosuke as well, we have beast breathing just immediately making sense. You see the boar head that he wears on this buff dude with animal pants and a sword with chunks broken out of it? He's rough, he doesn't communicate well, he moves, speaks, and fights in unconventional ways, and much like a boar, he butts heads with those around him. Inosuke is a beast, and from the second that you see his design, you can completely understand that. What's interesting, though, is what's under the mask. Rather than being this boorish man that you might expect to look very rugged, Inosuke's face is soft and pretty. And if you know his backstory from the manga, you know that there is a soft side that was robbed from him. Just as animals and nature have their dangerous and wild side, it can also be beautiful and soft, and all of that comes across in Inosuke's design. Now, something else I think Demon Slayer does phenomenally well in character design, aside from just incorporating the relevant elements into the character, is it also tells a story of the character as well. Tengen, the Sound Pillar, grew up as a shinobi, represented by that Naruto-like headgear that he wears, but Tengen ran from that shinobi life. He opposed its values to his core, and as such he became a pillar of everything that shinobi are not. He is big, he's bright, he's loud, and most of all, he's flashy. Rather than all the black garb that you might expect from a shinobi, Tengen is covered in bright colors like cyan, deep reds, and greens. He paints his fingernails, he has gems all over his outfit. Everything about him shouts, "I don't want to be a shinobi, I don't want to be hidden in the shadows." And from the second that you hear that he used to be one, you can understand that there's a massive disconnect that must have happened. But enough of the demon slayers themselves, I want to move on to two different demons to end out this video. Because while the heroes in this story tend to have their personalities and colors tied into the elements or the breathing style that they're going to be using, the antagonists, more often than not, tend to show off bits of Japanese history, mythology, and culture, which I just think is really, really interesting. It isn't so much that these characters embody the idea of lightning or the theme of the color red. Instead, they're about showing important parts of the culture, as well as giving ironically very human origins to many of the stories that are demonstrated. Without going into too much of it, when Akaza was human, he was tattooed to mark him as a thief. And naturally, Akaza has committed many more atrocities, having become a demon, and we see those tattoos spreading through his entire body, which is a really cool way to design a character's evil actions onto their actual body. Beyond that though, once we actually get into his backstory and we see the reasons why he did what he did, turn this insane demon that we've watched murder Rengoku into someone that it could be argued is the most human character in the series. And how is this represented through his design? Well, take a look at the other upper moons. Daki is this weird sash lady, Gyutaro is an actual monster, Hatengu is like 6 monsters in one, Gyoko is a weird fish pot thing, Doma is the embodiment of evil with silver hair and rainbow eyes, and at the best of times, Kokushibo could be described as a 6-eyed monster. But then we have Akaza, who is just kinda a dude that's been branded as a criminal, despite only ever trying his best when he was human. There is a reason he looks like a normal person, and he doesn't have any weird traits. It's to show that at his core, there was a human. And finally, I want to talk about Daki. We all love Daki. She's great, but her design has a lot to it. Firstly, obviously we have her actual job in the show, which is very tied to the entertainment district, and well, I mean, you see her, you can understand that. And while we do have her playing a role of a courtesan, she's more specifically an oiran, which was essentially the upper class and exclusive version of a courtesan, which was supposed to be only available to the elites. While they would take part in the typical behavior associated in that field, they would also be expected to be knowledgeable in the arts, be able to carry good conversation, and be skilled outside of the bedroom as well. Beyond just the historical implications of her job though, I want to talk about how Daki is used to represent Japanese mythology specifically. There are so many tiny details in her outfit, her abilities, and even her accessories, which are genuinely really cool Easter eggs for anyone who is into history or mythology like I am. For example, one of her defining traits in the series is her sash-like neck that can be extended or bent to avoid being cut, which, if you've ever heard of a yokai called the Rokurokubi, then the connection is pretty straightforward. Even tiny details like her accessories are tied to a story though. We tend to see Daki with a golden comb in her hair, and as I've tried to make clear, any use of color in this story is pretty intentional and thought out. While the comb could have been any color, it was gold. Just like in the famous Japanese fairy tale, The Strange Story of the Golden Comb. A simplified version of the story is that there are 2 young kids, a girl named Aiko and a boy named Konojo, who are arranged to be married. The girl receives a golden comb from her future mother-in-law, however, before much time passed, the boy's family was exiled from the prefecture. Years later, the girl and her sister were supposedly the most beautiful girls in Sendai, and they find the golden comb that she had been gifted and begin learning about what had happened. Aiko becomes obsessed with the idea of this marriage and falls into a depression. Not knowing if Kanojo is alive or dead, she stops eating, and she eventually starves herself to death. However, the spirits of the dead take pity on her and allow her to inhabit her sister's body, just long enough for her to meet Konojo and ask him to marry her sister in Aiko's place. The last thing she does before passing on is to ask Konojo to put the golden comb that symbolized their would-be marriage in her hair. And in this story, we have a golden comb, an outrageously beautiful woman, and a set of siblings that share a body. All of which are represented in Daki's design, abilities, and characterization. Now, I'm not saying that every character in the series has this much thought in their creation, but it's safe to say that the majority of characters who play any sort of significant role probably do. And I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate just how well Demon Slayer ties in every aspect of a character to make them feel whole. Their personality, their breathing styles, their backstories, clothing, accessories, everything folds in on itself phenomenally to make these 3-dimensional people overflowing with great characterization, and I'm hoping that you all appreciate it as much as I do. But let me know which character you think has the best design in the series and why down in the comments. It's a pretty interesting topic, so I'd love to hear your own opinions. If you made it this far though, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. And as always, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and until next time, remember to stay excellent.